Some operating systems draw a distinction between binary files and text files. And it's important to understand how this works, especially if you're working with an operating system that has those distinctions, or you expect your code to run on an operating system that has those distinctions. The most prominent operating system that has a distinction between binary files and text files is Microsoft Windows. In fact, all Microsoft Windows, all the way back to MS-DOS, have that distinction between text files and binary files. The upshot of this distinction means that with a text file, the operating system will try to interpret and convert line endings. And with a binary file, of course, it will leave everything alone. If you try to read or write a binary file using the methods for a text file, it will try to convert the line endings, and your binary file will be corrupted. And so we're going to show you an example of this and how to do it wrong and what happens and how to do it right. So what we have here is a binary file. It's a JPEG image, and if we open this up, you'll see it's a picture of some olives. And so we'll go ahead and we'll make a working copy of files.pl, and we will get to work on this. We'll call this binary.pl. Open that up. We're going to be using the IO file module, so we'll go ahead and say use IO file, and we're going to go ahead and make a copy of this file. So not going to use any of this code. We'll go ahead and say the original file name is olives.jpg, and the new file name, we'll just call it copy.jpg. And we will open the original file using a file handle. This is an object reference variable, and IO file new, and we'll give it the file name, and we will open it for read, and we'll put out an error message if we can't open it. Now I'm just going to make a copy of these two lines of code and just change original file to new file. And change read to write. And come over here and change original to new. And that should work just fine. Now we're going to copy the file. The first thing we need to do is we need to create a buffer for the data. This is how you copy a binary file. In the other examples, we've copied text files, and now we're copying a binary file. So the method of doing this is a little bit different. We're going to use the read method in the IO file object, and that requires a buffer size. So we'll just create a variable up here for the buffer size. I'll call it buff size, and I'll make it a megabyte, so 1024 times 1024. Most computers these days can handle a megabyte buffer size in memory. And so we'll use a while loop and the read method from the original file handle. This is the file handle that we created up here for the original file, where we opened that file. That's the olives.jpg. And the method read will read a file using the buffer in the binary file mode. And we give it the buffer as the first argument and the size as the second argument, like that. And so for each buffer full, we're going to write the buffer, and we write the buffer simply using the print method. This will read and write the binary file, and this will work great on operating systems that do not have a distinction between binary files and text files. So if you're doing this on a Mac or if you're doing this on a Unix system, this will work fine. We're on a PC. It's not going to work. So we'll go ahead and we'll save this and we'll run it. And just so we know when we're done, let's go ahead and put out a message when we're done. I like to know when I'm done. And so nothing else is happening to the screen here. So I'll just put message done at the end there so we'll know. Save and run. And we have the little message done. So I'm going to refresh this because Eclipse doesn't refresh it. And there's our copy. And I'll go ahead and open that. It says Windows Photo Viewer cannot open this picture because the file appears to be damaged, corrupted, or is too large. It's not a very specific error message, but we get the picture. The original file is fine, but the copy is not working. And the reason for that is that the operating system tried to translate the new lines. It didn't realize that this was a binary file, and Windows file system defaults to text files. So what we need to do is we need to tell it that it's a binary file and tell it not to do that. And we need to do that in both the original file and the new file. And we do this like this. And what that does is it sets that file handle to binary mode. And we'll do the same thing to the new file. And we will save that and run it again. And we have our done message. And we open up the copy. Voila, it works. So that's the copy, and that's the original, and they are the same file. So this is the important bit of code right here for working with binary files, even if you're running on a system that does not make this distinction. It doesn't hurt, doesn't cost anything. It's always a good idea to go ahead and set your binary mode and use this string here, raw. Now in Perl, if you call binary mode without any arguments at all, it will assume raw and it'll go ahead and set it to raw. It's a good idea though for future compatibility, because you never know, to just go ahead and always put that string in there. So you'll see code a lot that just calls bin mode without any argument, and you know that that's setting it to raw. But for your code, it's a really good idea to go ahead and include that. So just to recap here, we open the file in the same way we open it using the IO file object-oriented, and we set the bin mode on both the old file and the new file, and we copy it using the read method and the print method. And the read method takes as an argument the buffer and the buffer size, and of course the print method will output whatever you give it, and it outputs that to the new file handle. So we got the new file handle for the write, we have the original file handle for the read, and that is our copy code right there to copy a binary file on any operating system, including an operating system like Microsoft Windows that draws a distinction between binary files and text files.